Hey y'all, I wanted to share with you a practice that I have, which is making collage papers. And when I say making, I mean taking blank paper and drawing abstract, designs on them, just mark making. What I want to in particular show you today is working with alcohol markers, permanent markers that are alcohol based, because what they do is when you're working with a thin paper, like this is this I have a bunch of these papers that are thin. Some of them are two-tone, one tone one side, one color on the other side. I got these out of the Flow magazine Paper Lovers books. I had like 4 of those. They were pretty thick books that had come out a couple years ago. Maybe they still have them, I'm not sure. But they would come with a ton of papers in them. Like I've got a giant pile of paper here. What I love about these papers is the alcohol markers bleed through. So you can see this page, the design is like the same on the back side. And that is because the alcohol markers bleed through. Now, it doesn't just happen on this fun colored paper. It also happens on any paper that's thin. So I just want to show you how it works because it's actually really cool. So I'm going to show you on the colored papers. I'll also show you how it works on copy paper and some drawing paper. So first, let's just work with the copy paper, because copy paper, everybody's got this copy paper in their house. So I am just going to pick a marker, and I'm just going to, it's literally just whatever marks, come into your brain, in your mind. Everybody kind of has their own like go-to marks that they do. So you just get in touch with however your hand wants to flow, whatever marks you want to make. So I'm just going to do like a little bit, like a half sheet. I'm just grabbing another just so you can kind of see that all these markers are usually double tip. So I've got like a big broad end and I've got a fine end. So I always have to decide like what tip do I want to work with at the moment. I like to, and let me show you, you can see here, it's bleeding through. It's faint, but it bleeds through. So that was a light color. I'm going to go over with a darker one, but this time I'm going to do like a finer, a smaller, like using just the tip to give me a finer mark. And this marker is actually running out, and I don't mind that. So when my markers run out, I still use them. So I'm going to show you kind of what I like to do when they start going out is I'll just do a pattern, and you can see how wonderful this is because it's giving me like some of these lines are coming out dark, some are coming out light. So I've got light, middle, and dark tones happening. All right. This, I can tell like nothing else is happening. So if I let this rest, it might like fill up again and I could get a couple of more marks out of it. Let's see what's happening on the back side. So down here, because the marker was kind of running out, it's not going to come through as much. But what I have happening up here is really awesome because I've got faint marks. So what I would do at this point on the back side is I am going to choose a yellow. Wait, that's not quite yellow. Let me dig in here. Why do I keep picking up the same one? Here we are. And I'm just going to go over these green marks like this. And the yellow may or may not show up on the other side. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It might not show up because I'm actually going over the green and the yellow is light. So it may not actually bleed through to the other side, but this will give you an idea. And actually what I want to do now is I want to do like a little flower mark in here. I said a flower mark. Why did I say flower mark? Because I made these V shapes and I feel like if I put a little dot in the middle, it's kind of turning the V shape into a flower. That's why I said flower mark. But what you'll see here is this coral is gonna bleed through to the other side really nicely. Look at this, how nice. It's, oh, I love that. And the yellow, I'm not really seeing it, but you know what, y'all? I like this a lot. I am feeling like I want to put a little blue in here for some reason. So I'm just gonna do a blue. Ooh, this is dark. This came out darker. This does not match this cap. Do y'all see that? Okay, should have tested it first, but that's okay. Wow, I'm making this pattern really wild and crazy, which is fine. And this blue is gonna bleed through to the other side so vibrantly, which will be cool to see. So it's really that I just wanted you to see like what these alcohol, the potential of the alcohol markers on paper, how they bleed through, which not fun if you're working in a sketchbook, right? Because if I were to use these alcohol markers in one of my sketchbooks, it would be a disaster because whatever happens on this page is going to happen on the other page. Look at this, how cool. Okay, so this is awesome because sometimes what ends up happening, I don't really care for this side anymore. I feel like once I put this triangle in next to like the green, which was sort of like a flowery leaf shape, and then the red, I didn't like it, but I super like this side. So what do I do with these papers? What happens here? Why do I like the benefit of a design on either side? The benefit is I've got two sides to choose from when I am collaging. And that's what I use these papers for. I use them for collage. Look at this one, how cool. So this one's neat because I've got a red side with kind of like these bean shapes, or this side. Both sides are awesome. But it just gives me options. And you say, okay, well, that's cool, Rachel. I don't have this groovy two-tone paper that you have. You could always make this. You can make two-tone paper. You can, you could take an alcohol marker and color, you know, well, it would, don't do that. You know why? Because it's going to bleed through. But that could also actually be really cool because you'd have it heavy on one side, faint on the other side. Like this blue, if I colored this whole area with this blue, it'd be really kind of solid on this side and then faint on the other side, which would actually be really neat. But you could also just paint with watercolor, color one side with ink. You know, the possibilities of making two-tone paper is kind of endless. So let's go. So this is a piece of copy paper, which is super thin, already kind of on the see-through side. Let's see what it does on a piece of drawing paper. So this is a sheet of, I think this is 80 pound, just traditional drawing paper. Let's see how this bleeds through, because this is a piece of paper that you absolutely could put a light wash on. Will it wrinkle? Yes, it's going to wrinkle. Can you flatten that out? Yes, you could flatten that out. And still make a two-tone paper. So this doesn't come through as much, but I wonder if it's because that wasn't, you see how that marker was faint. Let's see what this one does, because this is a good fresh marker. I think this is going to bleed through really well. I'm also pressing real hard with this hot pink right now. Yeah, look at that. It's fabulous. So now what I'm going to do, you probably can't see the original circle coming through, but I can. And I'm just going to go over it on this side with this orange, which more than likely is not going to bleed through because it's not super high flowing pigment right now, but that's okay. This looks cool. That looks cool. So let's see what happens if I put some yellow in the middle. Oh, this'll go through nice, bleed through. With this process, it's really like I do this with these markers for the bleed through. So I am kind of always thinking like, you know, am I going to get the bleed through? And I did. So I like this because it is kind of faint. So I'm going to take like a pale pink and just kind of put one little dab in the centers of where that yellow came through. There. Now, what side am I liking better? I like them both. And how I would approach this is, you know, I would just cut circles out and use them individually. I would also add to this, I feel like some blue could happen on here or even more red. But I just wanted you to see drawing paper, copy paper, and the other paper that I really like working with is graph paper. Graph paper is thin and it has the cool graph on it. So how you can utilize the graph part, where's the broad? Oh, the big stripe. I just figured this out the other day, y'all, which cracked me up. I've been using these Prismacolor markers forever and a day, and the new ones have a thin stripe of the color here and a wide stripe, and wide indicates the broad side, thin indicates the fine tip side. And I just figured that out literally the other day, which I was laughing at myself because I'm always like opening. Yeah, maybe you do that too. Maybe you're smarter than I am. I just thought you'd get a kick out of that. Pay is to use your brain. So let's see. This is going to go through really nice. I'll show you right now. Look at that. This is almost like exacting. Let's see. And I really, oh, I don't like that tip. I really try not to see these old Prismacolors. The fine is on this side, which I think is like this pointing, and then the broad is this side, but I almost feel like the blue should be the broad, like the broad blue. I don't know. So yeah, learning how everything is marked. Part of the adventure. Oh, this is so pretty. I really like this combo. I also really like just the grid, the faint grid of the graph in the background. Look at this, how nice. So fun. So this practice of making these collage papers, this one's fun too. This one didn't have a lot of bleed through, but no big deal. I like this so much. It's like a banana skin. When I sit down and do this project, it's usually at times when I'm feeling stuck, or I'm frustrated with a project that I'm working on, stuck on that project, don't really know what to do next. This is a great get you unstuck, get you into the flow practice to have, where you're not really, your hand is kind of doing what it knows to do. You're just working, you're grabbing color, you're laying said color down, you know, even just making marks, just doing the act of making, doing, getting yourself into the flow can get you moving in a creative direction. It can get you unstuck. It can get you back into the groove of working. Also, I will turn to this practice when I don't have a whole lot of time. Let's say I've got 15 minutes to spare. I want to get some work done. I want to be in the studio. This is a really great practice to do because all I have to do is pull out the one box. All I have to do is, you know, grab a pad of paper, grab a stack of copy paper, and I can sit down for 15 minutes and you could get a lot of pieces of paper done in 15 minutes. So let's peek at the backside. Look at this, how fantastic. I love this. And I can even, so let's say on this side, I want to add something bold on this side that's going to come through less bold on the other side. You can toggle between sides, you know? So look how faint it is here, but bold over here, yet the orange and the pink is bold here, faint here. It's just this is a play. This is play. This is so fun. It's so much fun. So I hope this little peek into one of my practices has inspired you to just get your hands moving. You don't have to have, this is not fancy stuff. This is literally markers. You don't have to have alcohol markers to get this done. You could have, so I've got some just regular markers here. These are not alcohol markers. These probably will not bleed through, but guess what? I'm getting marks onto paper. You can do this with colored pencils. I'm just curious if this bled through. Teeny tiny bit, but not that much. So it's work with what you have. Look, I've got some colored pencils here. I can do the same thing with colored pencils. It's just getting your hands moving, getting marks on paper, getting color on paper, getting yourself into the creative zone. Making. There's no right or wrong. It's just getting yourself moving, grooving. I'm loving this just even as it is. Look, I can mix the color pencil with the marker, you know, just anything. Let's just put some hashed lines through these. Just get your hands moving. Just get out some paper, get out some mark making tools, get your hands moving. If you have alcohol markers or you've been curious about them, now you can see kind of some fun stuff that you could do with them. So I hope you take what you learned in this video and you go make something amazing. Happy creating.